If you're an entrepreneur, accepting that things will go wrong is just part of the game. But this can make you attached, which is unhealthy. But the truth is that stuff going wrong doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And it took me ages to learn this lesson. And I have worked hard to create a personal operating system that helps me to feel happy and fulfilled no matter what is going on around me. It's not bulletproof, doesn't always work, but if you sometimes feel unbalanced in your entrepreneurial life, which would be normal, I hope this helps you in some way. Anyway, tissues at the ready. In case you don't know me, my name is Olly Richards. I am the founder of StoryLearning.com. It's a multi-million-dollar online education business. I'm also a mentor and advisor to other online education entrepreneurs. And it's certainly been my experience that no matter how much your business grows, the problems are still there. They just turn into different kinds of problems. For example, here's a glimpse into my life recently in the last few months. So we had a major cash flow pinch at my business Story Learning, which was not fun. Totally my fault. I took my eye off the ball. The hedgerow outside my house completely collapsed, giving flat tires to every single car that passed by, and everyone on the street blamed me. I received a personal tax demand that was about 2 times what I expected. Again, my fault, I miscalculated. One of my oldest friends' mother just died of cancer 3 months after being diagnosed. I didn't even know about it. I found out I need a shoulder operation, which luckily is not major, but it is general anesthetic. I found myself being hit by burnout after a period of intense work. Lots of change on that front, been a busy boy. My flying instructor needed major heart surgery, and as a result I haven't flown for 6 months. Luckily she's fine. The horses escaped and completely chewed up my back lawn just in time for spring. And on the newsletter front, I was 4 weeks ahead of my publishing schedule. I was doing super well, and then I lost the entire lead, and now I'm back to writing newsletters week to week. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because I know that I paint a rosy picture of life in Hobbit Show. I guess it's the influencer trap. I am an influencer, after all. Love that word. And while it's all true, life is pretty rosy here, I too have to deal with shit, and things will go wrong. Shit will happen in your life. Big things, small things. One day, a video refuses to upload to YouTube. The next day, it's cancer. But it seems odd to me that we should call these things going wrong. Is it really things that are going wrong? It would be stranger to expect everything to always go right, wouldn't it? But there's nothing inherently wrong with things going badly or things going wrong. Wrong itself is just a word. It's a meaning that we attach to events. This can be difficult for entrepreneurs to accept though, because our entire identities are wrapped up in the future. Our literal job description as an entrepreneur is create something that doesn't yet exist. And let's be real, if 90% of things don't go wrong, you're not doing your job properly. So for example, if you're counting calories to lose weight, you'd have to be an absolute robot to stick to it 365 days a year. The day will come when you wake up tired or with a hangover and smash an entire kitchen full of waffles. If you're an entrepreneur, accepting that things will go wrong is just part of the game. But this can make you attached, which is unhealthy. But the truth is that stuff going wrong doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And it took me ages to learn this lesson. And I've developed a way now to deal with the emotions that come from thinking that things matter. And it involves planning life from first principles, so that whatever mess may be unfolding in your business, you personally can develop a high tolerance for the shit that goes on around you. In fact, I might request that phrase be written on my tombstone. Here lies Olly Richards, had a high tolerance for shit. Anyway, planning from first principles for me means understanding what the good life is for you, planning around these principles, bringing discipline to the plan, and then being unattached to other stuff. In other words, you get the big important things right and everything else will take care of itself. And this is quite different from a standard to-do list. If your week is always a big long to-do list, you will live life with a permanent feeling of never having enough time, never having enough time to get stuff done, never being on top of your list. If instead you focus on protecting the things that matter to you in life, you will always have a feeling of nourishment. If the important things in your life are in order, it makes it a lot easier to ride out the ups and downs in your business. So what is the good life? Well, I'll tell you what it means to me. It's obviously going to be different to you. The important thing is that you do know and you do have a conception of this. So many people get involved in business and are just like, balls to the wall for 10 years and don't come up for air and never actually stop to think, what is my version of the good life? What is a life well lived? When I was a lot younger, it used to be do cool shit. And to a certain extent, it still is. But now, more than before, the good life for me is much more about high quality of life day to day with minimal exceptions. And this, for example, is the rationale, I think, for flying business class. It's not about pining after luxury. It's about avoiding discomfort for a 20-hour duration. So over years of experimentation, I've discovered that for me, there are certain practices that if I do them, help me do two things. It helps me be happy and it helps me avoid suffering. Here are these practices. These are things that make my life better if I do them every single day. Journaling, meditation, just a bit, like 10 minutes, exercise or walking, clean eating, 3 hours of deep work in the morning, reading, and dedicated family time. And then there are periodic must-haves. So these are things that make my life better if they are regularly happening at some kind of cadence, right? So family holidays, getting away 3-4 times a year. Again, it doesn't have to be long, but just a bit. Time with friends, alone time, what I call daddy-daughter days. So like just me and my daughter for a full day together. Be learning new things. And then lastly, me planning time. So I'll explain a couple of these. First, journaling. So I've noticed that if I journal every day, every morning for 15 minutes, it helps me get things off my chest, helps me bring order to my thoughts, helps me feel less stressed across the board. Conversely, if I don't journal, I notice unprocessed thoughts building up in my mind, which can lead to anxiety. Whether or not I actually enjoy the act of journaling, and I do as it happens, but I will still do it because life is better when I do it. And so I do it every single day. One more example would be me planning time. So left unchecked, I will tend to focus all of my planning on business stuff because it always feels urgent, right? And I've always got a bunch of irons in the fire. But that can mean that I neglect my own personal needs, right? It's all about business, not enough about myself. And I've discovered over the years that if I don't plan stuff for me, things start going wrong. So I've discovered that every month or so, every 3-4 weeks, it's good for me to carve out some time to sit down and plan me stuff. Alone time, days with my daughter, family holidays, etc. I don't actually enjoy this planning very much. I'd much rather be working, but I've learned that if I don't do it, my general life becomes unbalanced. It's all work all the time, and so I make the time to do it. It is in the calendar, literally once a month on a Saturday morning. So through trial and error, I've discovered that everything I've mentioned in the video so far is vital. When I do that stuff, life gets better. When I don't, life gets worse. It's been simple observation and paying attention to this closely over a number of years that's got me to this point. So that is how I think about the good life. I would much rather get rid of bad stuff and optimize for good stuff, even if it's not great stuff, even if it's not like, I don't know, skydiving off the back of a rocket ship or whatever, like, yeah, whatever. I'd rather have a just greater proportion of good quality stuff and a lower proportion of shit. That for me equates to a life well lived, right? By keeping everything in balance, I find it easier to relax and enjoy the things around me, which are the things that do matter in the first place, right? Family, friends, nature, life. When I sit down to plan on a Sunday evening, the very first thing that I do is look at the upcoming week and make sure that these things are planned. I literally enter them into my Google Calendar. 6:30 till 6:45 in the morning is journaling time. It's in there. It's an appointment with myself. That happens way before I even think about planning work for the week. Once all the important stuff is scheduled, then and only then will I work through business stuff and plan that out and fit it in whatever time is left over in the week. If I don't have enough time to finish everything at work, honestly, who cares? Like with everything else, as long as you've done the most important stuff, nothing else really matters. And that's why I have 3 hours of deep work in my daily practices list, right? It's the simplest way of making sure that I do good work, the work that matters to me, that I need to do in order to feel fulfilled. So much of the rest of it, you can just let slide and it doesn't really matter. But I do find that 3 hours of deep work is essential in the grand scheme of things to make sure that you are able to work on those things that actually make a difference, move the needle, make you feel fulfilled. So when you plan from first principles, it takes the pressure off. You can have confidence that you're living your life well. And when your wider life is in alignment, work feels less critical. It's less do or die. It can help you detach your sense of self-worth from business outcomes. It may also make you a better entrepreneur because you'll be a more balanced person, although some people seem convinced that you have to be a crazy type A nut job to actually be successful. Yeah, it depends how you define success, I suppose. Of course, to do all of this, you have to have an idea of what the good life is in the first place. And if you're not sure, well, what better time to start thinking about it? If you enjoyed this video, you'll really like this video over here because YouTube is completely convinced you will.